Hey everybody, Justin Strange here from the Fantastic Mr. Podcast. I just wanted to jump on real quick and say that this episode is about when the Oscar nominations were officially announced, which was around February 9th is when we did this episode. So due to work and stuff, I haven't been able to edit the episode until recently, and today is March 27th when the Oscars are happening. So just keep that in mind when listening to the episode, as we recorded it weeks and weeks ago. So, and due to work and stuff, we weren't able to get it out until now. So hopefully you still enjoy it. So thank you for listening.
And welcome back to the Fantastic Mr. Podcast. I'm here with
Zack Briggs.
Justin Strange.
And this week we kind of have a special episode. We are going to be talking about the 2022 Oscar nominations because those just dropped. They're fresh. Well, not when you're listening to this, but it is for us. So we're going to talk about it.
Hey, what's your name, by the way? I don't think you ever said it.
Oh yeah. My name is Jake.
There might be a lot of first timers here.
Yeah,
That's
never heard of you, and you just said what's your name, but didn't say your own name.
It's my own name. Yeah, I am Jake. I'm also a host on this podcast. Thank you so much for giving us a listen.
Absolutely.
And with that recorded, let's just jump into it. Oscars 2022, they just released the nominations for this year annual awards ceremony. One of the, I guess one of the most prominent, kind of facts of this is how many films have actually been nominated for Best Picture this year. There's 10 of them. There's 10 of them.
How many are there usually?
10 is the max.
But I mean, how many? Well, let's look at last year.
10
Go ahead.
10 is the most that have been nominated since 2011. Since 2011. That was the last year they had the nominations maxed out. Normally there's like...
You said 2011? Sorry.
Yeah, 2011.
Oh, wow. Let's see.
So it's been over 10 years since we've had a full slot of nominations.
Well, I mean...
And I think there's a good reason for that. We had a lot of good movies this past year.
Have we?
Yeah.
So last year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like there were 8 last year. So yeah, that's a lot. Well, I think also it has something to do with the fact that it's so much easier to stream nowadays.
That is very true. And that actually leads me into this kind of the second factor of this is 5 of the 10
Our
were released streaming first or simultaneously. 3 of them were released for streaming devices. They were made for streaming services. That would be Coda, Power of the Dog, and Don't Look Up, all of which I believe are on Netflix. Actually, I'm not sure about Coda, but Power of the Dog and Don't Look Up are on Netflix. And then the other 2, King Richard and Dune, were released simultaneously in theaters and on HBO at the same time.
Coda is on Apple TV Plus. Sorry, go ahead.
Those 2, King Richard and Dune, have since then been removed, but they're going to be coming back at some point. So half of the nominations this year were made either specifically for streaming services to be released on them or released simultaneously as kind of a promotional event. What do you guys think about that?
So I guess Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story were exclusively in theaters for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just where the world was going, right? I remember what was it? A couple years ago when that Scorsese movie was nominated, was one of the first.
The Irishman?
Yeah, it was one of the first streaming that got nominated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then was Roma streaming?
I'm not familiar with that one.
I don't know.
That's it's a Mexican movie, I believe.
It's black and white. Yes.
I want to say it was streaming, but I could be wrong.
That was for Netflix.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like it was inevitable, once we got out of that, we started transitioning from, having to go to theaters and having to watch, stuff on TV to this fancy new way of watching things. So, Netflix started as DVDs, right? And so you could get a DVD and they'll mail it to you, and then you keep it as long as you want and send it back. And then they kind of slowly, they still have the DVDs, actually, believe it or not, but they slowly but surely transitioned to, mostly just streaming. And then, of course, several streaming services have come out since then. So it's just kind of the way of life now.
You have to imagine that Netflix is gonna eventually end their DVD program. Yeah.
Well, yeah, eventually I would think, but I think the reason they keep it is because there are still people that use it, and there's stuff on the DVDs that you can't access through streaming.
That's
Absolutely.
true. Like the special features.
Well, that and just there's certain things that you can't, like certain movies. Like when I watched Star Wars for the first time, it was through Netflix DVDs because they weren't on the streaming service, but they had them on DVDs. So my friends actually were paying for the DVD package for a while, like both things. And so they ended up ordering them, and we just watched them as they came in.
See, my parents had those on VHS still.
I have them on VHS.
And so they would throw them on VHS, and I was terrified of the trash compactor, the trash monster.
Did you think it could happen to you?
I did. I couldn't tell the difference between television and real life. Couldn't do it. I was like 6 or 7, completely sheltered, and I thought it was going to come out of the TV and eat me. And so I never watched it. I didn't watch them until I was like 15 or 16.
You're like, okay, this is not a movie anymore, or this is not real life. It's a movie. I'm good.
I had to like develop my frontal lobe.
you had to, and then you had to like pep yourself up before you started watching. You're like, okay, this is just the movie.
Same thing with the Lord of the Rings. Actually, I really wanted to see it, but they had the Helm's Deep scene going on in Walmart, and I made myself stand in front of the TVs at Walmart and I watched that scene because I knew if I couldn't make it through that scene that I wasn't going to be able to watch those movies. And that's how I was introduced to Lord of the Rings.
You're just like, I need to face my fear, and then I can watch the rest of the movie.
My exposure to Lord of the Rings was watching on VHS, The Fellowship of the Ring, and when it first came out.
Did it come out on VHS?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, there was a VHS copy.
I believe.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. I thought DVDs were in main.
They were, but movies still came out on VHS.
Lord of the Rings, the first one, it was like early 2000s. I'm thinking 2000 or 2001. No, it might have been 1999 actually. I don't know, but it was pretty early. I mean, VHS. I still collect VHS to this day.
I have two huge bins full of VHS, and Lord of the Rings is part of that. And I have like a double tape special features type thing in there, kind of like Titanic, 2 tapes.
So of these best pictures, I've seen Belfast, I've seen Dune, Nightmare Alley.
Yeah,
that's it.
Let's run through the nominations real quick, just so people have an idea of what we're talking about in case they're listening, in the future. The first one is Belfast, which that's one I'm actually not familiar with. So Zach, I'll let you take that one in a minute since you mentioned it. Then there is CODA, which is short for Children of Deaf Adults. And that follows a young girl who is the only hearing member of a family who's all deaf. Her parents are deaf. And their fishing farm kind of comes under danger. She has to choose between her love of music and her family's farm, which is really interesting.
It is interesting. I was going to try to watch at least one of these movies in the last couple of days, but I've been so tired. I'm like, if I try to watch one of these movies, I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I will try to watch them all before the actual Oscars, but not right now.
The next I have is Don't Look Up, which is on Netflix right now. It's one of the streaming, and that's essentially 2 low-ranking scientists in NASA discover a meteor heading to Earth, and they try to convince people that it's coming, and no one believes them. Then there's Drive My Car, which is a South Korean film, I believe. I'm not too familiar with that one.
Not really.
There's Dune, which is based off the book Dune, and it's a wonderful film. You can look up Dune if you want to know about that. There's King Richard, which is about Selena Williams' father.
Selena and the other one. Venus.
Oof. Yeah, Selena and Venus, and kind of how they grew up and learned under his teaching. There is Licorice Pizza, which I'm not too familiar with. Justin,
it.
I know you are very familiar with it. You saw
Yeah.
it,
Mhm.
as well as Nightmare Alley. I'll let you guys take
Mhm.
those.
Mhm.
Then there is The Power of the Dog, which is on Netflix. It's kind of a slow burn Western film.
Western.
Have you seen that one?
I've seen parts of it. I started watching it, and I just haven't been able to finish it
What's a
with family.
What's a Western?
A Western?
Yeah, that's what
Well,
you
you know,
said.
there was these guys called cowboys way back when.
You mean
and-
like a Western? Got
Yes.
it. I just
Not the motel. Sorry.
you said Western.
Yeah. Excuse me.
All right, go ahead with your Western side story.
Then there was the Power of the Dog is kind of a Western, kind of a slow burn face off between this old, honestly, really kind of vindictive cowboy played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and
Is Sam Elliott in it?
I believe so. Yeah, yeah.
He's
and
in every Western.
Kirsten Dunst is in it too.
Oh, is she?
and he plays
Yeah.
yes, and
Sorry.
he plays kind of a somewhat effeminate young man that kind of faces off against and challenges Benedict Cumberbatch. And then there's West Side Story, which is a remake of the classic
West
West
Side
Side
Story.
Story. We all know that one.
Yeah,
I've never
Yeah.
seen the original.
I watched it a couple times in school when I was younger, so I haven't seen it as an adult.
Not a big fan of musicals.
I'm not either. I'll be honest.
Lame.
Although I like the Blues Brothers,
It's not a musical.
it is a musical.
Okay, maybe
They
it
have
is.
musical numbers throughout the film that carry the plot forward. That is by definition a musical.
How does it carry the plot forward?
They
I'm going to be honest
seem-
with you, Jake. I'm just messing with you. I've never actually seen the original Blues Brothers. I've seen Blues Brothers 2000 with Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman.
I just know Blues Brothers from an episode of Drake and Josh.
Of course.
Okay,
I'm
let's move
calling
on.
you a truther.
Okay. I'm gonna ignore that slight and we'll continue. That's a
All
good, that's a good movie. And those are the nominations. We got 10 of them. It's the maximum amount that you can nominate.
Yeah. Jesus.
Do you guys think these were good nominations?
Picks?
Do you actually think these were the correct choices this year, or would you rather see a different film nominated?
I would have liked to have seen Spider-Man No Way Home, but oh well.
Yeah,
I mean,
think-
seriously.
In the past,
Yeah.
think blockbusters like
No, they
Spider-Man,
never usually,
they
never
don't get Best Picture, but they get other. They've been
Well, I
nominated in the
think-
past for other things like
I think
sound,
Black Panther
music.
was the first Marvel movie that was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it ended up winning best costumes or whatever. But Shang-Chi and No Way Home are both nominated for best visuals, I believe.
Yeah, so they have credit in that regard,
Yeah.
but
I'm just saying, like, best picture. You never see a blockbuster in that though, which is
Mm-mm.
whatever. It's fine.
Well, that's actually interesting. The reason I was kind of doing research on the Oscars, and previously before the max number was 10, the max number was 5. They actually doubled the number of nominations that could be submitted.
Mhm.
And the justification of that supposedly was to allow the quote unquote, fan favorite blockbuster movies to be included in the running, because lots of people were upset that their favorite films
Yeah,
weren't getting submitted.
and then their favorite films still aren't getting submitted.
I would consider
Well, I'm
Dune
talk-
a blockbuster.
Oh yeah, I would too. I guess I didn't watch Dune, and like I said with you guys, I was like, you guys can have that. I don't. Here's the thing about Dune. I don't like it when trailers in trailers, movies claim that they're going to be franchises bigger than certain franchises.
Oh, did
I
they
think-
do that?
I believe Dune did that with Lord of the Rings. They said it was going to be as big as Lord of the Rings and stuff. And I was like, nope, I don't want to watch it now just because of that. Like,
Well, I'm glad
The-
I'm glad I didn't see that.
It's
because
kind
that
of-
probably would have turned me
it's
off.
kind of
Yeah.
sad that they have to resort to that kind of
yeah, it's like-
marketing
yeah,
just to get people in the doors. I mean, based off the trailers, I was
The trailers
I
look
was
good.
encouraged to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think if anything, they should have said maybe not Star Wars, but maybe a mixture of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. Don't just say Lord of the Rings because it takes place in space.
yeah, they might have said
Looks
it.
like Tatooine.
I mean, yeah, I I want to say they said Lord of the Rings and this, but it wasn't Star Wars. But I do remember Lord of the Rings and or they claimed and not even really claimed to be bigger, big franchises, but they like with what is it called, Valerian and the Planet of a Thousand Cities was this like big budget movie that went nowhere, and like Tomorrowland was the same thing, and just like they spend all this money on these big movies that don't end up doing anything. And they spend big money on movies that don't.
They're not able to back up their promises.
Right. And so I don't know. Sometimes when that happens, I'm like, I don't really want to watch this. Maybe later. I'll eventually watch Dune.
I would say
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
I would say Dune does back it up, at least visually. Whether or not you like the
visually,
Dune,
visually it does look great. And,
it's a treat to watch.
And I enjoy Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet. I don't care about Batista anymore. Like when he's not playing Drax, I'm like, I'm good, because that's another thing I don't care for, is when these stars become stars and then you hear them all over the place and they're talking about what parts they want to play and what movies they think should be done. And I'm like, dude, just be an actor.
Just play a role, man.
I think
just be an actor.
About Dune, I think a lot of people might have been turned off by the pacing and I guess the somewhat cerebral feel to the movie at points.
Yeah.
There's some pacing issues, I think, but overall, I think it was an excellent movie. Very atmospheric.
I believe, because I haven't had the chance to read Dune, but I believe this movie is the first half of the first book, which is just mind-boggling.
I don't get why
long-ass movie.
I don't get why people were confused and like not freaking out, but at the end of the first movie, I mean, they say in the show in the beginning, part 1, but people are like, "What? Is there going to be a part 2? It ended like this." I mean, yes. I guess people that aren't informed about the Dune books are gonna be kind of surprised about that. But a lot of people, even in the theater, like I could hear them like, "Really? Is there going to be another one? There should be another one." They thought the movie, the story ends there in the sand. But I'm not going to go into like spoilers because people may not have seen the movie. That's why you got to go watch it. I loved Oscar Isaac's performance in that.
My only complaint with Dune was how the advertising used Zendaya's presence so heavily, and in this first part, she's not utilized that much. I'm sure she'll become more. I'm sure she'll become more like ingrained later on in the story, but as far as this first film goes, I think she got maybe like 10 minutes of screen time total.
Yeah, and a lot of it was used in a way that we'll probably find out why it was in the next movie.
But she was promised she was all over the advertisement, and she was not in the movie.
And I think the movie advertised it as somewhat of an action sci-fi movie. I mean, there are elements of action for sure, great epic battles, but it wasn't constant like I think maybe people were hoping and expecting.
It was much more of I would almost qualify it as an adventure.
Yeah. A journey for sure.
Yeah.
Probably on the level almost of maybe it kind of felt like a Fellowship of the Ring, beginning, traveling movie. And the way it ends kind of reminds me of the ending scene of a Fellowship of the Ring, as Sam and Frodo are looking upon the misty mountains and they see Mordor and their next part 2, the Two Towers. Their journey continues. So I felt I kind of had that same feeling.
Yeah, so I would say Dune is probably my favorite one on this list, but I'm kind of a blockbuster bitch, so I gravitate to those anyway. Yeah. But what about you guys? What is your favorite film that's been nominated on this list?
I don't know if I have a favorite because I haven't seen many. I've seen Belfast, I've seen Dune, Nightmare Alley. I'd say Belfast was one of my favorites out of those that I've seen. It's about during the 1960s in Ireland, there was lots of controversy, some battles going on between the Catholics and the Protestants, if you're familiar with that history. And it's a black and white film, kind of a semi-autobiographical movie, but it's dramatized, obviously. And it's about this little boy and experiences of this battle of religion, essentially, taking place around him. And while it delves kind of and it shows and explains some of that history, it's all mostly from the eyes of this little boy. And I forgot the name of the actor, but he's just fantastic. Jude Hill's his name. And this movie was directed by Kenneth Branagh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But this movie is based off kind of his upbringing in Ireland, and then the separation into what's Northern Ireland and Belfast. So just overall tone was excellent. The gal that played a prominent character in the James Bond film, I forgot her name. Was it Judi Dench? Yeah, she's in that movie as well. Another actor never really heard of, but she was fantastic playing the mother. It was a good history movie, while also not too in your eyes. Like, it's not too much either. Like, you could comprehend it. But for people that maybe aren't familiar or used to accents, especially like Irish accents, it might be a little. They might need to listen a little more closely. At movies,
turn
aren't
on
there
your subtitles.
Well, I don't know if this movie's I don't think they have this one streaming yet.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
That's why I saw it in the theaters,
Yeah.
and I watch a lot of, in general, British TV and film, so I've gotten used to some of the accents.
You've become acclimated to the tongue.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. You kind of have to. You kind of have to. But overall, it's one of those movies that coming of age, a little bit of history, and a good feeling movie at the end of the day. So that's one of my favorites. I don't know, Nightmare Alley. Have you guys seen that one?
I watched it.
You did?
Yeah, I told you that.
You did? I thought you said you saw the first one. You saw the. Oh yeah,
No, I
we
saw
talked
the new
about the
one.
ending scene. Okay, yeah. What'd you think about that? If you wanted to talk about Nightmare
Sure.
Alley.
I thought so. The only two I've seen in this list are Nightmare Alley and Licorice Pizza, and I guess technically West Side Story, but not the new one. But I liked Nightmare Alley a lot more. It was a lot more interesting to watch it's one of those rise and fall movies where you see the rise of this person and then he falls. So it was Bradley Cooper also.
Originally going to be Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
Really?
dang. I would have
that
loved to have
role.
seen Leonardo in it.
I think
Do you know why Leonardo backed out?
I think other obligations.
Oh man, I would have loved
one of
to
the
see
reasons-
Leonardo in this, man.
He's going to be doing another movie in the works, I think, with Scorsese. I'm not entirely sure if it's with him, but have you heard of the book, The Devil in the White City? It's about the Chicago World Fair from the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, about this
Cool.
murderer. It's based off a real guy, but Leonardo's going to be playing this killer that lures women into his house of horrors, and the other character is like a doctor. So, anyways, Leonardo would have been fantastic in the role that Bradley Cooper played. I forgot the guy's name already.
Well, that movie sounds very fun.
You're talking about you forgot the main character's name? His name is Stanton Carlisle.
Yeah.
And then Rooney Mara, which I like. I really like Rooney Mara. She's been in a few things I've seen. So she was in The Social Network as Erica, I believe, which was Mark Zuckerberg's girlfriend at the beginning of the movie. And then she was in another movie called A Ghost Story that I really enjoyed. If you guys haven't seen it,
That's the one that's very indie.
Oh yeah, it's a A24 movie. Yeah, it's got her and Casey Affleck. And then she was in another movie with Kate Blanchett. She was in Kubo and the Two Strings, but she was in a movie called Carol with Kate Blanchett, where she she plays a photographer who develops this like intimate relationship with a older woman, Kate Blanchett. And so it was
Heard about
it was
that
really
movie.
good. Yeah, I watched it. It was suggested to me when I was getting my master's because I don't really remember why it was suggested to me to watch because it was about two women, I guess. I don't really know.
Was that an award contender at all? That movie?
Let's find out. And then of course she was in this, and I just like I really because Rooney Mara is just like she's so
She's-
cute. She's so
I think-
cute.
She and Joaquin Phoenix, they're together. I believe.
You know, apparently she is Kate Mara's. They're related somehow. If you know who Kate Mara is, she played the Invisible Woman in Fantastic Four and stuff like that.
Oh,
Let's
the new Fantastic Four,
the newer
the recent
one, yeah.
Abomination.
Yeah,
They can't get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Those characters
the
right.
actress that also plays Zoe in House of Cards.
that's Kate Mara.
Cameron. Okay.
Kate Mara, yeah.
I was
They
a,
look
I was
kinda
a bit
similar, though.
confused.
I
I was
mean, they are
trying. I was
sisters.
trying to track.
Yeah, they have like kind of the same facial structure. I'm trying to see if this movie won any awards. I can't find it right now. I mean, I
Sounds
guess
like something that would be, just social currencies.
Yeah. So I really, really, really enjoyed Nightmare Alley. But also I like Bradley Cooper and I like Rooney Mara. And it's just an interesting story. And then it turned out, as a disaster for him and all the stuff. So, and that ending, and I talked to you about this the other day, that ending was so good.
Justin,
That-
give us a quick, not a synopsis, but give us a quick just rundown of what's the movie about? Like a 30-second elevator pitch.
So it's about this. I'll just read. It's about this guy who he ends up I guess he's kind of homeless and he ends up being a carny. So he works for a carnival and he kind of works his way up to do his own act, which is a mentalist act. So he acts like he knows you and he's telling you, telling you about someone maybe who's died and he can connect with them on the other side and all this stuff. And he moves out of his carnival, him and Rooney Mara's character, to start their own act, and they get a job at a hotel doing 2 nights a show, and they're doing really, really well. And then he tries to do other stuff that he shouldn't do, and
Ethical
things,
things.
really unethical things. And so he ends up trying to do stuff that he shouldn't do, and then ends up paying for it essentially. Yeah, it's very, very, it's a very interesting movie.
It's kind of, you got
That's-
to pay attention though. I feel like that movie. You got to.
Is there a
you can't just-
supernatural element to it? Because Nightmare Alley.
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Because I've only seen the trailers of it, and I
Yeah.
wasn't able to get a bead on it. It's
Well,
very colorful,
about
very larger than life, and
Yeah.
it had kind of the same color grading as The Shape of the Water and kind of some of these other horror / mystery films. So I was curious as to what
Mm,
I don't
I got supernatural vibes from
There's
the trailers.
there's no supernatural beings at
No,
all. I think anything, maybe the electricity in the chair was exaggerated, but that's not supernatural necessarily.
No, it's just CGI.
Yeah.
No, and with the trailers, the trailers don't help. You don't know what the movie's about through the trailers.
Those are the
don't
best
think-
trailers, in my opinion.
Which I
Yeah,
actually
no, I'm not
appreciate.
complaining. I'm just saying, like, you watch this trailer and then you watch the movie, you're like, oh, this is a completely different movie.
Unlike some others, I saw a trailer for Don't Look Up when it was nominated for the Oscars, and they had the last scene of the movie in the trailer. They showed the ending of the movie
I think I didn't watch the
On-
trailer.
on national television
Uh.
for its nomination. And it's like, well, I mean, if I hadn't already seen it,
I'd be pretty
No.
pissed.
Did you enjoy that movie?
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. I liked it. It was kind of marketed as as kind of a zany comedy, which it didn't end up being. It was kind of the first half was comedic, and then as the movie went on, it kind of became more serious and kind of low as it progressed.
Do you think
And,
the tone was changed, or the way
tone? I think the tone did change kind of throughout the movie, and I think it was purposeful. It wasn't.
It felt fine. It wasn't jarring.
Yeah, no, it wasn't jarring. It kind of started to change as the movie went on, and researching the film, it makes sense. Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the characters in that movie, and he is very strongly invested in environmental projects, environmental support, helping our planet. And the background of this film is it's essentially an allegory for global warming, seeing this thing coming a mile away, excuse me, and not doing anything about it. And so a lot of people associate it with COVID because we all are kind of engrossed with COVID right now. But that's just kind of a side effect. It was originally kind of made as a symbolism for the slow march of global warming. And so it kind of like he got his message across very well by the time the end of the movie was done.
So I think the movie Don't Look Up, it got a lot of flack just because of the political messaging. But a movie that gets that kind of press and conversations going, it's just going to help drive up viewership, I feel like, in the end.
Yeah, that movie reminds me. I just watched the movie, so I'm trying to watch some of the best screenplay winners over the years. And so the first one last year, a movie called Promising Young Woman won best screenplay. So I decided to watch it, and it had that same effect where the tone changed. So at first she's like this woman who's kind of a woman scorned, where she's trying to get revenge on these other guys, these men for being jerks essentially. And you think because she has a notebook where she's putting tally marks.
Oh, damn.
And you think she's killing them, but she's not. Spoiler alert: she's not killing any of them. She's just what she does, she goes to clubs, acts drunk, and then gets them to take her home with them. And then when they try to sleep with her, she kind of goes off on them. She sobers up, in quotation marks.
She doesn't kill them, because I haven't seen it, and I did think she killed them.
Yeah,
absolutely thought she killed them.
I was like, oh my god, is she killing these guys? Because she had a lot of tally marks. There was pages. I was like, how is she getting away with this? And it turns out that no, she's not. She's just kind of being
she's just berating them, making them feel
making them feel bad. Yeah. And then it changes tone where she meets this guy who she really likes. And so it kind of almost seems like a romantic comedy. And then it changes back when something bad happens in the middle. And then she decides to get revenge again. So changes tone, but it didn't it wasn't jarring. Like you said, Zach, it wasn't jarring or anything for me. I thought it was a great movie.
Did this movie have Bo Burnham in it?
Yep. Has Bo Burnham.
Okay. I know the movie. Okay. Yep. I was putting two and two together.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It was actually a really well done, and the music in it, I really liked the music. They had this really cool rendition, a violin, cello-ish, whatever orchestra rendition of "Toxic" by Britney Spears. Yeah, it was pretty dope. And so if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. It's just, when you guys were talking about Don't Look Up, it made me think.
No, that's what we're here to do. This entire podcast is a tangent.
That's fair. So do y'all want to talk about licorice pizza?
Sure.
Go for it.
It sounds delicious.
On the poster, at least on IMDb, there's not one licorice pizza on there. I'm assuming
does the movie explain what the title's all about?
I don't remember if it does or not. I was just thinking, I don't know if it references licorice pizza. Well, it takes place in the 70s, so this could be a 70s thing, Superbad. It used to be a saying in the 80s and 90s or whatever. And so, but they don't really say Superbad in the movie. So it could be kind of that whole thing. But essentially, this movie by Paul Thomas Anderson, and by the way, this is my first Paul Thomas Anderson movie I've seen in theaters. So that for me, that was pretty exciting. But so on IMDb, it says the story of Elena Kane and Gary Valentine growing up, running around, and going through the treacherous navigation of first love in the San Fernando Valley, 1973. So essentially, these two meet each other, and I wouldn't say they fell in love at the beginning. Gary definitely falls in love with Elena, but they end up just kind of being friends and eventually business partners. So they create a couple businesses together, and then like one business they're selling water beds, and then another business, Gary decides to open up like a pinball arcade because in California for a long time pinball machines were outlawed. And so when they found out, oh, pinball machines, you know, they're gonna let us have them again, he starts buying them up and creates an arcade. So they
Cool.
do, yeah. And they have all these different adventures together. And Bradley Cooper's actually in that movie. And man, he is a genius in that movie. He is so freaking funny. Um, he is so funny. He has like this kind of 70s haircut where it kind of comes down to here, but it's like super straight. And then he has like a beard and stuff. He looks great. And so the catch to this movie though is that Gary is 15 and Elena's 25. And so there's like a big age difference. So that's kind of where people are like, oh, because like
I can see where they get some eyebrows raised.
exactly. So when I was getting ready to go see this movie, I was looking at it. So I have this app on that I called Letterboxd, and it's essentially a social media app for people who love movies. And so one of my old teachers, he had like a little review on the movie, so he's super smart. And so I read it and I was like, okay, that'll be interesting because they were just talking about the age gap. They didn't say what it was. And so I'm like, okay. And so I went to see it and I was like, oh, I like after a while, you forget that Gary is 15 because he's doing all these adult things. So he's like smoking and then he's starting these businesses. But then there's one scene where um, they deliver waterbed with a truck and then the truck runs out of gas. So they have to go get gas and they're like playing with the gas can because it's got the little spout that comes out and they're like putting it between their legs and acting like it's a penis and stuff. And so that's when you realize you're like, oh yeah, he's still 15 years old.
He's a juvenile.
Yeah. And so, but they ended up, well, I won't spoil it for anybody because it is a really good movie and I'd rather people watch it and not know the ending.
How's the music?
I mean, it was 70s music from what I remember. Honestly, don't remember the music too much.
Or was it like actual songs?
Honestly, don't remember. I was just,
Must not be that memorable then.
The music wasn't really. I mean, it was just the story was what I enjoyed about it the most. It was a great story.
Was it shot well in your opinion?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it looked good. And the story, I liked the 70s look of movies. So like anytime a movie set back in time. So like even like Nightmare Alley looked great. It was set in what 41, I think, like right before the war and into the war. So yeah, it was. I mean, it's very 70s ish. So it's got like yellow tint on it, like as far as like the color and all that stuff. So if you haven't seen Licorice Pizza, you should watch it when you can, whenever it comes to streaming. That's the only two I've seen. Well, I mean, there's West Side Story, and judging from the trailers, I mean, it looks great just from the trailers. It looks good. So I would love to see it. I didn't go see it in theaters. Although I should have gone and seen it.
Is it streaming anywhere? West Side Story?
I don't know.
I don't believe so. That's not one of the ones that are streaming yet.
Yeah. West Side Story. Yeah, but based on the trailer, it looks cool. I'll definitely go see it. Or I will see it eventually. Yeah,
So
it looks like it's still in theaters.
So was French Dispatch, was that a movie that you thought might have been nominated for an award, or was that a movie that was for the previous nominations? Or would that have been a different year?
I'm trying to remember when I went and saw it. I think I saw it.
I felt like that was a movie that came out last year.
Yeah, I actually I know it was because I remember it kept getting pushed back, and it finally released in 2021. So yeah, I don't know why it didn't get nominated.
A snub? Oscar snub?
I don't know if Wes Anderson has ever been nominated for any Oscars. To be honest with you, Wes Anderson, Oscar, he might have. Let's see.
Speaking of being nominated for the Oscars,
That's not true. I guess he has won a couple. Go ahead.
Denzel Washington has picked up his 10th nomination for
Nice.
lead actor for his part in Macbeth, and that actually makes him the most nominated Black individual, and he broke his own record from 9 last year. So some people are saying that we should just rename the Oscars the Denzel because he's been.
What was the last movie he was nominated for?
Oh, that is a good question.
I think it was a movie based off of a play, if I remember that. I just forgot the name. Fence or something? Was it called Fence?
He's in now
Fence, but I thought Fence came out a few years ago.
Oh, well, I bet he was nominated for that whenever year that was.
His last nomination was 2020, I believe. So that would track. But anyhow, he's the most nominated Black actor. He's got 10. I think he's in like the top 3 people who've been nominated of all time. Meryl Streep being number 1, of course. But he's up there. I just thought that was a fun fact.
Who's going to get that? Who's going to win Best Actor, even if you haven't seen the movies, just looking at the titles and what you've seen?
Well, the tragedy of Macbeth is Oscar bait, just 100%. That movie was made to win an Oscar. So I think he has a very good chance of winning this year. But after that...
look at that. Javier Bardem is nominated for being the Ricardos. That's cool. Go ahead. Sorry.
But I think after that, Benedict Cumberbatch probably has a really good chance of getting an Oscar for his role in The Power of the Dog. The leading actors, the nominations, by the way, are Javier Bardem in Being with the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith in King Richard, and Denzel Washington in The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Is this Andrew Garfield's first nomination for?
Oh, he's had a few.
Oh,
I actually just read something.
Social Network?
I don't remember what they were for. I just remember reading something.
Spider-Man. Just kidding.
No, he's apparently been nominated a couple times. Looks like the best actress would be Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Let me go and tell you, I don't care for Jessica Chastain one bit. She's just very blah to me. Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Kristen Stewart has
that was an excellent movie.
Well, Kristen Stewart surprised me over the years. Her and Robert Pattinson, as far as actors go, they're actually not bad actors.
When one of your leading films is Twilight,
yeah, I guess
you get a
lot of room for surprise.
Reputation.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spencer was excellent.
Yeah.
I liked her in American Ultra.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say. She was funny in American Ultra. Yeah, that movie was kind of to me, kind of like a hidden gem. It's like I don't remember why I watched it, but I thought I'm gonna watch this because I like Jesse Eisenberg also.
Same deal.
I was like, I'll watch this, but Kristen
Which
Stewart.
movie are you talking about?
It's called American Ultra, and it's about this guy who's like a sleeper spy, right? Or something like that, and so he ends up getting activated or so. It's kind of like a comedy, or it is a comedy, but it's got Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart in it.
That's interesting because I just watched Adventureland. I told you about that, Justin. Mm-hmm. And Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart are the stars of that movie as well.
I didn't know Kristen Stewart was in that movie.
Yeah.
Let's see. The one I like to. Okay, these are all the same. So except for the best original screenplay nominations are Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and The Worst Person in the World, which I've never heard of. I'm kind of into. I'm at like the two big categories for me are Best Picture and Best Screenplay because I like to write screenplays and I'm a writer and stuff, and so I'm a writer, by the way, guys. That's what I tell people anyway. People who don't know
writer.
Like, I'm a writer. No, I'm really a teacher, but I also like to write. Let's see. The worst person in the world. We're going to look it up.
This here says it's a Norwegian dark romantic comedy drama.
The chronicles of 4 years in the life of Julie, a young woman who navigates the troubled waters of her love life and struggles to find a career path, leading her to take a realistic look at who she really is. Interesting.
That seems like a movie you would enjoy, Justin.
I think it does sound like a like a movie I would enjoy. I mean, it looks fine. I like movies about people trying to figure themselves out while I figure them out. So looking at the best picture noms, what do you think's going to win? What are your predictions? I think that I haven't seen the majority of these movies, but it's either I want to go with West Side Story or Nightmare Alley. Or
I think it might be Don't Look Up, just because of the politics behind these type of ceremonies.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to find the film that has the marriage of art and politics, because that's what they seem to enjoy. And so I think for that reason, I'm gonna have to say it's either Don't Look Up or Belfast, because that's kind of the historic politics, and it's black and white.
Yeah.
So it has the art. It has
and it's foreign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I like black and white movies. Like I watched. Have y'all seen Nebraska?
No.
It's got Bob Odenkirk and Will Forte in it. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It's I know I've said that a lot this podcast, but it's really surprisingly good. Good, especially
black and white, you said?
Yeah, they're black and white. It's a drama, and it's got two comedic actors in it with Bob Odenkirk and Will Forte, but they do a great job in the movie. I really enjoy comedians who do dramatic roles.
What was the purpose of black and white? Was it?
I don't think there was anything that was mentioned as far as why it was in black and white. It's kind of the same with any other movie that comes out. Seems like these days that are black and white. Like
Come on with Joaquin Phoenix. That was an excellent movie. I'm kind of surprised that wasn't nominated for anything. That came out in 2021.
I know what you're talking about.
The little boy that is kind of eccentric and visits his uncle, Joaquin Phoenix's character, and Joaquin Phoenix's character interviews people. He's a radio journalist, and he travels across the country. The movie is black and white. I don't understand why.
Best costume design. Cruella is in there. Did y'all see Cruella?
Yeah.
I would say that had great costume design.
I enjoyed the movie until it got a little bit ridiculous with kind of the not supernatural stuff, but the stuff that makes it Disney and it takes you out of the
film is
original
grounded
fashion
designers. They should have good design.
Yeah, that's fair.
If that doesn't win, then that's gonna be kind of a cringe reaction.
It's kind of like, we're gonna make a movie about the best fashion designers. I wonder if we should do a good job with these designs.
I think either Cruella or West Side Story would win.
That's what I was gonna say. Either Cruella or West Side Story, because Nightmare Alley was just typical,
very
40s.
bleak.
Yeah.
Nothing that stood out.
Yeah, Cruella was a good movie, but I thought it was a little too long. I saw Cruella in theaters, and I was like, God, this movie's still not over.
It got kind of ridiculous after, she becomes Cruella, and then the final act of going back to the mansion. It just got too ridiculous for me.
I thought that was kind of the best part. Oh. She finds out she's related with her mother.
I would have just appreciated a movie leading up to her, like literally the point that she becomes Cruella, and then end it. I didn't need to see, kind of like with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, where they're already talking about a sequel, which I don't think is necessary. I think the first one was a character study about a man that has mental issues, and with the title Joker slapped onto it. I enjoyed it, but I don't think we need another one unless they're intending to make Todd Phillips is intending to make his own universe of DC villains. I don't know. But it's already in development, apparently.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see a very human broken element to DC films, but I don't think it's really needed, like you were saying.
Oh, hey, look.
Keep it at the one and done.
Be done after that. Coming to the number 2, America is nominated for best makeup and hairstyling. That's cool. It probably won't win, or if it does, so it's Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. And
House of Gucci, there you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of being snubbed, Lady Gaga, I hear, is not happy.
Here, let me go ahead and just
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga, the actress.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
What movie?
House of Gucci. She's
Gucci.
The main character.
Yeah.
And
she had a large Oscar run. She was campaigning hard for an Oscar nomination.
Well, I think an Oscar snub was when Adam Sandler or Uncut Gems wasn't nominated for anything.
Yeah.
That was an awesome because, like, Adam Sandler. I love Adam Sandler. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I watched the one, the murder mystery one where him and Jennifer Aniston are on the boat, and then anyway, that movie was funny.
Uncut Gems.
No, the one I was just talking about. I'm talking about his movies.
Short-term memory loss.
The movies that he does usually. Like,
What are those movies?
Zany comedies.
Yeah, like Grown Ups and Bedtime Stories and these.
Yeah,
where Adam Sandler is just Adam Sandler.
He's just like a big goofy kid.
Yeah, and so then, but like I like a lot of his movies. I really enjoyed Pixels, which was the one about the video games. Oh yeah,
wow, you are a Sandler fanboy.
I mean, not necessarily because that movie, not necessarily because Adam Sandler. They could have put someone else in. I'd have been fine with it, but it's just more nostalgic with the older video game characters. But then, like we watched, and I believe that movie I was telling you about, Adam Sandler movie. Let me see if I can find it. It was a Netflix thing because he did the whole movies for Netflix for a while. If y'all remember,
what was the Western he did?
The Ridiculous 8 or something.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Did you like that one, Justin?
I didn't see it. Oh, here it is. Adam Sandler. Okay, so see if I can find this movie. It's called Murder Mystery. Okay, yeah, it's called Murder Mystery, and it's about a New York cop and his wife go on a European vacation to reinvigorate the spark in their marriage, but end up getting framed and on the run for the death of an elderly billionaire. And like we watched it randomly, and I thought it was pretty funny. But then you got Uncut Gems, where he's completely done a 180. And he's freaking awesome. And I saw that movie in theaters as well. And I thought he did really, really good. And like even I don't know if y'all have seen Punch Drunk Love. That's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Like, I don't know. Adam Sandler to me is a good actor. When he gets put in stuff that he's
when he
usually
puts the
not
effort
doing.
in.
I would agree.
He's a good actor. But there's a lot of movies where he's in it. I don't know if he's just in it for the paycheck or if he's in it just for the fun. There's a lot of movie where he's just up there goofing off.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, look, they're making a murder mystery too.
Are you surprised? What year did Uncut Gems come out again?
2019.
I think that snub is kind of similar to the snub in 2017, 2018 when Good Time came out. That wasn't nominated in the Oscars, and that was an excellent movie with Robert Pattinson.
Right.
And it kind of had that same energy, similar energy as Uncut Gems with the craziness. Like you got to be in the mood to watch either of those movies. Like with Adam Sandler's characters swearing every second, and he's like yelling constantly. It's like give someone a headache if they keep on watching that.
My friend watched the movie. He's like, hey, I watched Uncut Gems. I was like, oh yeah, what'd you think? He's like, I just kept getting like pissed off because he's like, because it's just like one thing after the other, and he just keeps like digging himself in deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was like, yeah. And so I don't know where I was going with that.
It's a very emotionally engaging film.
Yeah. So you said you have to be in the mood for that. And I'm like, yeah, because I've only seen it once, and that was in theaters. I have it. I own it. But
I've only seen The Last Jedi once. That was enough.
Yeah. No, I tried to rewatch it, and I couldn't get past him throwing the lightsaber away. He threw the lightsaber, and I was like, "No,
God, we need an episode to talk about the sequel trilogy."
I can't do this.
That was a joke. That was a joke and a slap in the face and a disgrace to the character.
It was
Luke Skywalker. The buildup of all those years.
I just want Dave Filoni to come in and retcon everything and save us all. He's the only one that can fix it.
Yeah, they have that time warping stuff that they showed.
Time thing in Dave Filoni's animation series. That's what I'm saying. They got to do that. They got to bring that in and remake it somehow.
Yeah, we need an episode about Star Wars.
It's Disney though. They won't admittedly come out.
We'll do a separate episode solely on the travesty that is
Disney's Star Wars. But the thing is, there are elements that Disney has done well. If you guys have watched, for example, the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. I was going to
say where Disney is excelling. I'm sorry, Zach. I'll let you continue. I interrupted you.
No, the streaming series are where they're doing well, I think, and they're getting a lot of their positive feedback. It's the movies right now where they're kind of struggling, and then we have another trio of movies in development taking place in what's called the New Republic, or is
It's
not
the
the
Old
Old Republic. It's the Old Republic, but they're calling it something else. Or maybe it's something. It's thousands of years when there are lots of Jedi, basically.
It's like the Golden Age, essentially.
Yeah, and there's been ever since Disney, bought the rights to Lucasfilm and they retconned all the expanded universe. They have their own stash of books that are now canon. But I think the media, the streaming series on Disney Plus they're a lot better. I'm not
Yeah.
saying they're perfect, but I have a more positive
I think
reaction
only
than the sequel trilogy.
the only Star Wars one I've watched is The Mandalorian, and I watched both seasons, and I thought it was great. And then you look at like the Marvel shows. So at first I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome with WandaVision and then Loki, and then to me it started becoming a little saturated. Except for What If, I loved What If, but then Hawkeye came out, and I was like, oh, God, another Marvel show, And at first I wasn't gonna watch it, but I was like, you know what? No, I'll try it out. And Hawkeye turned out to be a great show. Have y'all seen it?
Yes, I have.
Seen
It's
scenes.
really nice. I liked that it brought it back down to the human level.
Well,
Like he's just a dude with a bow and arrow.
that's what
trying
I'm
to get
saying.
home
Like
for Christmas.
you put him in the Avengers, and Hawkeye's my least favorite superhero in the Avengers. But you take him out of the Avengers, and he's actually a great character. But
He's like the most human of all of the Avengers, I feel like.
I would agree. I just you stick him in the Avengers, he's just kind of
He's overclassed in the Avengers.
this puny human,
But he's not even that really interesting as a character.
No,
like
he's
at
not.
least the way what's the actor's name?
Clint Barton.
No, the actor's name is Jeremy
Jeremy Renner. At least the way he portrays him, it's just not. He's not. It just seems like a regular guy. It's just
You
nothing
guys want to
special.
know my favorite performance by Jeremy Renner? He was in an
The
episode.
Town.
He was in an episode of House.
Oh,
And he was awesome because he played like this drug addict who was also he was a musician, drug addict, and he was just insane, and he was so good. So find that episode and you should watch it because it's so good. Because he's in the hospital but doesn't want to be, and he's like they can't trust him with, take him into a bathroom with an oxygen tank, and he lights up a cigarette and it blows up. It's just like so funny. Anyway, sorry, that's probably like one of my favorite performances by Jeremy Renner. But yeah, you take him out of the Avengers, take Hawkeye out of the Avengers, and he's fine. You give him somebody who's not as advanced as him with skill and all that stuff, and he's like, okay, great.
talk about best cinematography. For you guys, what do you guys look for in cinematography as you're watching me? Like what captures what? Like there's certain movies where it's like, oh, there's nothing that really pops out to me when it comes to the shots and everything. But there's this one movie about the Holocaust. I forget the name of it, but it's about Hungarian Jews, and the movie is entirely shot from basically the POV close-up shots from the protagonist and whatever he could see. It's not like his POV, but it's a very congested and claustrophobic movie. And that was the first movie I was like, wow, that type of camera works for this movie and the topic it's dealing with. I've never seen a movie where each shot's medium to tight. Like that was the entire movie. That's the way it was shot.
There was this movie I saw on Amazon Prime. Oh man, I can't remember the movie, but essentially this kid was the descendant of Thor, and he didn't know it at first, but he figures it out. And I thought, and it was like it wasn't a big movie. I'd never heard of it until then.
Is it a foreign film?
Technically, yes, but the main character is American, but he's not in America. He's in I think somewhere in Germany. He's the brother of the kid that was on Jumanji and Hereditary. I guess they were part of the Naked Brothers band. Did you ever watch that show on Disney or Nickelodeon?
I don't follow anything that has the word naked in and involves children.
Well, it's not that. It's like a Nickelodeon show, and I guess they were in a band and they called themselves the Naked Brothers Band. It was weird. Let me see. It's got Nat Wolff and Alex Wolff. So I think it was Nat Wolff in this movie. Let me see if I can find it. You guys go ahead and talk. I'm gonna try to find this movie.
So best cinematography: Dune, Nightmare Alley, Tragedy, Macbeth, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I mean, the cinematography for Dune I thought it was
Dune
fantastic.
Wonderful, and The Power of the Dog had some really great shots in it as well. When I look at a film, I love, as a videographer, as a photographer, I love framing and blocking of an image. So when I watch a film and I see the framing of the shot really create an impactful, like striking image using like symmetry or balance or weight to actually draw the eye to a specific area of the screen, using a lot of 2D design fundamentals, which I know film is supposed to be emulating 3D, but we are watching it comes out of a 2D plane. And so I feel there's still a lot of elements that benefit from that kind of 2D design aspect. Because while we're using light to create that sense of depth, if you use the 2D design to actually block where shapes are in the frame, that's what gets my attention a lot. Dune did a great job with, creating these repetitive patterns in the architecture of these buildings and the slopes of the hills with, the tiny figures in the distance. And that's what, the difference draws your eye to those figures. In The Power of the Dog that I've watched, there's a lot of these films where I kind of in the contrast of Dune, where there's scenes with these cattle, and so there's a lot of these moving shapes and things moving across the film. But you can tell the intention that was put into it. I believe one of the opening scenes, they're herding these cattle. You see these cattle kind of like walking, and then a horse walks into the frame. The cowboy on a horse walks into the frame. You're just trying to figure out what the movie is, and so you can see immediately the images are what's telling you the story. It's like these cows, and then there's cowboys going with them, taking over the screen. It's visual elements that are able to tell you very clearly what is happening with meaning behind them, not just over the shoulder type back and forth shots.
Yeah, it's probably adds to it if you could have those visuals without any dialogue needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love frames that are just told with images.
I guess Wes Anderson would be kind of the go-to guy for me on that with cinematography, because his stuff is very symmetrical, and sometimes it's not symmetrical, but it's still it's weird way he frames things, but it's always mostly static shots. If there is a shot, it's a pan or it's a zoom. That aspect, I think Wes Anderson. But this movie, I found the movie I was talking about. It's called Mortal, and it's about this guy who is discovering he has godlike powers based on ancient Norwegian mythology. And so it's not even really the story. The story's okay, but the movie itself was just like gorgeous to me. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime, I believe. So yeah, with cinematography, it's just, I don't know, with Wes Anderson's kind of my go-to with that. But I also thought Nightmare Alley had pretty good I mean, it was a beautiful movie as well.
It's very dark. Very
I was
dark.
just gonna say it was because a lot of it took place at night. I mean, there were some day scenes, but most of it took place at night. So, anyway, yeah, I thought that was. I don't know. I don't know if it'll win. I bet Dune would probably be close to winning, or Macbeth maybe.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know what
even-
Macbeth looks like, but yeah.
I've seen a little bit of it, and it looked pretty good. And then West Side Story also looked really good as far as cinematography
colorful.
goes. Yeah,
It seems like a play though in a movie setting. I mean, I guess I'm biased against. I haven't seen many modern musicals except
look,
like Beauty and the Beast.
Free
Live
Guy.
action.
Free Guy is nominated for best visual effects. That's awesome.
Yep.
I still haven't seen Free Guy,
Really?
and I do want to
Oh,
watch
it's
it.
excellent. It's like
Yeah.
it brought back memories of aspects of Elf and some other movies
Yeah,
I watched growing up.
I want to watch it, and I think I'm waiting to watch it with my friends, but we never can sit down and watch it. And then
You
of course, Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Visual
Oh,
effects,
visual
Dune,
effects.
Free Guy, No Time to Die. What's that? What's No Time to Die? Is
It's
that
James Bond.
James Bond?
Bond.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah, it's
about
not gonna
visual
win.
effects for that. Shang-Chi actually had really good visual effects, I thought. So
seen that one.
CGI and stuff. Shang-Chi, if you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus. And the story, I didn't care for, but I thought it was a really good looking movie.
From what I read from people's reviews, like people love that's the beginning, maybe the middle with him learning his powers in the martial arts, the raw martial arts. But then once it got all into reminded you that it's a Marvel flick with the
Yeah.
rings and all that's when then it got a little ridiculous.
I like the way the rings, because in the comics the rings were on their fingers, but they didn't want to be too similar to the whatever it's called, the gauntlet that Thanos wears, so they did it on his arms, and I thought that was a good a good trend, like a good substitute was to put it on his arms, because then it acts like, it can act more like a whip almost, and so the way, you just have to see the movie, but he ends up, they end up like taking them off, and they're like use them as like whips and stuff. It's kind of neat.
But getting back to the Oscars, I wanted to swing back around some interesting information and getting your opinion on it.
Okay.
Because swinging back to The Power of the Dog, I've talked about it a lot on this episode, but for good reason. It has the most nominations of any of the films that have been nominated, except for 12 different, categories.
Right.
And it's the only film on this list that has both a woman director and a woman DP. They're a
That's
co-woman
cool.
team, and they have been nominated for both Best Film, Best Director, and Best Cinematography.
Yeah, well, good for them. That's
Altogether.
awesome.
Would this be a first if Best Picture won for a
Jane
woman
Campion.
director?
A champion. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jane Campion, I think is what it is. She'll be the first woman ever nominated for Best Director twice. She's been nominated once before.
Yeah, I should say that
So
name
she'll be the
sounded
first-
familiar.
She'll be the first woman nominated twice.
What was the
And-
other movie she was nominated for?
That I'm not sure about.
Oh, okay.
And then Ari Wegner, her DP, is only the second woman cinematographer ever to be nominated for Best Cinematography. So we have a co-woman team producing a movie made for a streaming service that has the most nominations of all the films that have been nominated this year.
Oh, I think in a way it's going to add to the potential that, Howard the Duck could win. In fact, especially the streaming
For sure.
aspect,
I
exclusive.
agree. A foreign film won last year, so why not?
Yeah, Parasite.
Have y'all seen Parasite?
Still on my Hulu list.
Dude, watch it.
I can't figure out if it's meant to be a horror or a comedy.
It's one of those other movies that the tone changes. Also, real quick, I wanted to look, best animated film. Nothing interesting. Okay. I wanted to look at I think I'm gonna try to watch the short film nominations. There's animated short films and live action short film.
I am always curious about where to find those because it's easy to find
The
the
movies.
major motion pictures.
Yeah,
I
you
find
just
it a
kinda,
lot more difficult to actually locate the short films. You
Yeah,
gotta
you-
find them on YouTube or
I was gonna say,
Vimeo or
you got
the
yeah.
person's the director's personal website. It's a lot more difficult to find those.
It is like, because they don't typically put stuff like that on
They don't promote
streaming
those
service.
as well.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna try my best to watch all the short films and see what I think about them, because there's animated and there's live action.
No
I'll try to
Studio
watch 'em.
Ghibli.
No Studio Ghibli.
Ghibli.
It's been years since he came out with a movie, but I think he's coming out to do one more movie, I believe, his last movie.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
All those movies have great music. Symphonic
Oh man,
music.
they sure do. They sure do.
So, like stuff I can remember too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always something kind of unique and stuff, so it's nice. I really like Studio Ghibli movies. I super enjoy them.
I love Howl's Moving Castle.
Me too. I also really like Spirited Away. I showed Spirited Away to my students this year, but I probably won't next year. But I
Castle
did
in the
this year.
Sky.
Castle in the Sky was good. The only one that wasn't good that I was like, I kind of suffered through was Pom Poko, and it's about a bunch of raccoons. And I think maybe I need to watch it again. But man, I just was like, this is not a good movie. I think one of my favorite Studio Ghibli movies it's called When Marnie Was There. It was really good. It's like a 2-hour movie, but it was really good.
Should have an episode on that if it's not already on the list.
It is. Studio Ghibli movies are on the list. I'm trying to find best original screenplay on this list. I know
Just
it's on
one-
here because I've seen it. Go ahead.
Well, you look that
Okay.
up. I'm gonna have one more fact of
I found it.
interesting nominations.
Go for it.
Troy Coaster,
Mhm.
in Coda.
Yeah.
He's the first deaf actor to be nominated for an Oscar. He's in the nomination for actor in a supporting role, but he's the first deaf
That's
actor.
too bad, because that little
That's
girl
nominated.
from a Quiet Place, she did a good job, I thought, and she's actually deaf. That's cool. Well, good for him. What movie was this for? Sorry, I hiccuped.
Coda.
Code. Oh yeah. Okay, I'll have to check that. I did look at because I was trying to decide, when I thought I was going to try to watch one or two of the movies in the last couple of days, I looked up the summary for that, and I thought that was really interesting.
So much easier just to watch an episode of a show than a
I
movie.
tell you, just sit down and watch a movie. But
I'll just watch Sopranos.
on Sunday or Monday, I think it was, I finished Nightmare Alley. I actually stopped watching it when I started it. I got about halfway into it and stopped because my roommate had friends over and they were kind of loud and they were playing Phase 10. So I was like, all right, I'll join you guys. So I ended up finishing it on Monday, but then I was like, I want to watch one more movie before I stop. So I ended up watching Promising Young Woman. So I'm trying to watch more movies, and try to at least, a couple a week. Go ahead, Jake. Sorry.
I've got the list of the screenplays. I know you're looking for them.
I found them.
Okay.
Let's see. Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and The Worst Person in the World. That was oh yeah, we did talk about this because I said The Worst Person because all the other ones are Best Picture noms except for The Worst Person in the World. That's the Nigeria? Was it Nigeria? Norwegian. Was it Norwegian? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. You said that seems like a movie you would like, Justin. All right. Well, I think we've talked enough about the Oscars. I'm really excited for it. Do we know when? This is going to sound crazy. Do we know when the Oscars is going to be playing?
It's March 27th. I believe it starts at 9 a.m. They're going to have the pre-show build up to it, and it's going to be an all-day thing.
Seriously?
COVID's not going to affect it.
An all-day thing.
I think it's going to be digital. If I
Sunday, March 22nd or 7th. I'm going to look this up now. Hang on before we get.
Just feel like these pre-recorded to an extent.
Because the nominations were all socially distanced, pre-recorded. Not pre-recorded, but they're all socially distanced, like Zoom, essentially.
Yeah.
I sure hope it's not a digital thing. I mean, I get it, but I kind of like the whole. But I
Live
guess. Yeah,
feel.
they did that whole DC fandom thing, Zach. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was all digital, and that was pretty cool to watch. All right, well, this was fun, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you didn't enjoy this episode, please let us know. We'll have social media accounts all over the place. It'll be the Fantastic Mr. Podcast at blah 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 blah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, Friendster.
Not OnlyFans.
Not OnlyFans. Not this time. Not
Yes.
yet.
All right.
Maybe eventually.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get there. You have to be special to have an OnlyFans account. So please hit us up if you have anything to say or if you have any ideas for any good episodes. Totally hit us up, and we would love to hear from you. Right, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one of these days we'll have a guest on our show.
Yeah, I would love that, to get a guest on the show. Kick one of you guys out and get a guest on the show. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Or we could have call-ins to the viewer.
To the station.
Viewers.
Yeah,
to the station.
No, thank you. That just sounds like a lot of work to have to deal with. I mean, I guess not. We can
Send them the Zoom link.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
looking
I
for
was just gonna say.
ease.
Then they'll kick them out.
So. All right. Well, thanks for listening to us again on this third episode of the Fantastic Mr. Podcast, and I guess we will see you next week when we talk about something, right, guys?
Something.
Music of film and
Music and movies. Yeah. Okay, great, awesome.
you can put stop recording too before ending it if you want. Unless you want to just
I will.
Cool.
So, it was good to see you guys again, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
All righty, see ya.